Imagine being a Roman soldier in the 3rd century. For years, you have risked your life on the frontier, and your pay has always been the silver denarius, a coin trusted across the known world. But one day, you notice something is wrong. The coin feels lighter, it looks duller, and it doesn't have the same ring. Your government, desperate to fund its endless wars, has been secretly mixing the silver with cheap, worthless metal. The money you saved for your family, the foundation of your future, is melting away into a lie. This wasn't just an economic policy. It was a betrayal, and it was the first tremor of a world beginning to crack. For the farmer, the betrayal was felt in the marketplace. He would haul his grain to the city, only to be offered a bag of bronze coins that could barely buy a loaf of bread the next day. Soon, he stopped coming altogether. Why sell your crops for worthless money? The entire system of trust that powered the empire's economy began to seize up. Long-distance trade, once protected by the legions and fueled by stable money, became a fool's game. For the ordinary person, this meant the disappearance of everything they took for granted: Spanish olive oil, Egyptian grain, Gallic pottery. The world was shrinking fast. Then, the very arteries of the empire began to harden. The 50,000 miles of stone-paved roads were a Roman miracle, carrying goods and information with incredible speed. But as the state's silver ran out, the road crews and engineers vanished. The cracks were no longer repaired. Weeds grew through the paving stones, and bridges collapsed into the rivers they once crossed. A journey that took 2 weeks in the empire's prime now took 2 months, a terrifying ordeal on paths ruled by bandits and extortionists. The network that held civilization together was fraying, strand by strand. In the great cities, the decay was even more intimate. The aqueducts, which carried a constant supply of fresh water, began to fail. Without maintenance, their channels clogged with silt and debris. The once clean fountains ran dry, forcing people to drink from polluted rivers, and disease began to spread. At the same time, the state's protection disappeared. The local garrisons were pulled away to fight in distant civil wars, leaving the city gates unguarded. Law and order wasn't just breaking down, it was evaporating. For a family in Rome, the world outside their door was becoming a place of random violence and constant fear. Faced with worthless money, failing infrastructure, and no security, ordinary people made the only logical choice they had left. They abandoned the system that had abandoned them. A great migration began, not of barbarians from across the border, but of Roman citizens from within. They fled the great cities by the hundreds of thousands. They were not just moving house. They were escaping a failed experiment. They were walking away from the symbols of imperial power and heading back to the one place where real value could still be found: the land. As the cities emptied, a new center of power was born in the countryside: the fortified villa. Wealthy senators and landowners saw the chaos coming and converted their luxury estates into self-sufficient fortresses. They built walls, armed their tenants, and stored their own grain. These villas became islands of order in an ocean of chaos. For the common farmer or refugee, the local landlord, known as the dominus, was now the only source of protection. He was the new law, the new general, and the new emperor of his own small kingdom. This was the raw, unfiltered beginning of feudalism. In this new, localized world, a new kind of elite emerged. Your status was no longer determined by your rank in the imperial bureaucracy. It was determined by one simple question: what can you do? The blacksmith, who could forge a plow, mend a tool, or shoe a horse, was now one of the most powerful men in the community. The farmer who knew how to manage a crop and produce a surplus of food held the power of life and death. Real, practical skills became the ultimate currency in a world where the official currency was worthless. But people needed more than just food and security. They needed hope and a system of belief to hold society together. As the Roman state dissolved, another institution grew stronger: the Christian Church. Bishops became the new city governors, organizing food distribution for the poor. Monasteries became fortresses of knowledge, carefully preserving the books of the ancient world while everything outside their walls burned. For ordinary people, the church offered a new identity and a new community, a social glue that replaced the dying ideal of Rome. The fall of Rome was not the end of the world. It was the end of a highly complex, globalized system. For those at the top, it was a catastrophe. But for the ordinary people who survived, it was a brutal, but necessary, lesson in resilience. They learned that true security is local. They learned that real wealth is in your hands and in your mind, not in your purse. And they learned that when the old world dies, a new one is always waiting to be built from the ground up by the people who have the skills and the courage to endure.